some students that had met at Purdue. And I have one next weekend in Albany, New York. Another couple that met at Purdue. And there's a couple in the back there, Philip and Claire. Why don't you stand up? I love me. And Philip and Claire are preparing them for marriage. They're going to get married on New Year's Eve, right? They're going to be married at the Old Cathedral. And so I've been in the midst of preparing them for marriage. Whenever I'm the officiant at a marriage ceremony, I take part in preparing them, and I enjoy it very much. And as part of that process, we go through a survey of about 150 statements, and the couple's choices are, and I stress this, didn't I, Philip and Claire, that it's not a test. You can't pass or flunk. It's a survey to see how well they communicate with one another. They talked about the things that are important as you prepare for marriage. And the answers are either you agree or disagree, or you're uncertain. Now, one of those statements, and there's some of them that are crucial, like there's one statement that it really annoys me when my future spouse leaves their stuff on the floor. Well, everyone always agrees with that. And the Catholic Church has no opinion. But this one is a key indicator, this statement. I value keeping the peace at any price by avoiding arguments and confrontation. Now think about that for a moment. And I'm not going to ask for a show of hands. I don't want to embarrass anyone. But the preferred answer for that statement is disagree. If there's a disagreement about that between the couple and their response, then I try to get them to talk about their role models and what healthy conflict looks like and how to come to good resolution. Then we hear this gospel reading today. Jesus paints a very different picture of himself and what he expects than what many of us might be used to or expect from Jesus and what we hear from him. I have come to set the earth on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing. Do you think I have come to establish peace on earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. What the heck is going on? What happened to the Prince of Peace? What about peace be with you? Blessed are the peacemakers, the Beatitudes. Now, it's not that Christ wants chaos. He wants us to understand that following him may very likely cause division. Following Jesus can cause division. The reality is, following Jesus is not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy for anyone who truly believes in Jesus. Some people knew I was surprised. I've been on, as soon as I left the wedding in West Lafayette, I had to go to Chicago for a week-long meeting of all the Dominicans. We try to meet every year. We haven't met together since 2019 because of COVID. So this was our first meeting for very unusual for us to be a part. So all of the Dominicans of my province came together in Chicago, and the master of our order was there, which is really a big deal. And it really was, they're always a nice experience, but usually they're very businesslike. And this one was almost like a retreat. It was very prayerful. We had some really nice quiet time together. We had great conversations. I tried not to watch, listen to, read anything about the news at all. One event sort of intruded into that quiet space. But it was very much a peaceful week. But I knew, of course, that when I came back on Friday that reality was going to hit me in the face and I'd have to enter back into the world. And when I read this gospel reading, I always read the gospel reading on Sunday before, so I'll read next Sunday's tonight. It called to mind, when I read this last Sunday, all the divisions that we are experience in our country, and maybe even among family and friends, and maybe this faith community. We don't always like to address the challenges that we have, so we avoid them. Maybe we succeed in avoiding these tensions by not talking about them, and I expect Jesus wants or expects a different response. He wants us to talk about these things that challenges us. Jesus wants us to be prepared. He wants to know what he expects of us, the challenges that we would face if we wanted to consider ourselves followers of Jesus Christ. I was with Archbishop Brzezinski about 3 weeks ago. I celebrated a funeral mass with him, and so we were chatting beforehand. And, this is just an aside. Bishop Rice was there. You may know Bishop Rice. He's over in Cape Girardeau. Is that where he is? So he comes over to me and he says, and I'm talking to Bishop Brzezinski, and sort of bishops butt in, they were So he comes over and says to me, I need some Dominicans over in Cape Girardeau to do whatever. I don't remember what it was. And Bishop Brzezinski right away says, stay away from my Dominicans. Isn't that nice? So anyway, Bishop Brzezinski and I were talking about the All Things New campaign. And I know it's natural that what we often, when a diocese is going through these sorts of planning processes, that we're going to focus on, is this priest going to be moved? Is this church going to be closed? Is this school going to be closed? And those things are, frankly, it's just another debility of our church. We have a lot of people to serve. What a great blessing that is in a growing church in certain parts of our diocese. In other places, it's not. However, I think the other part of that, and what he and I were talking about, is the exciting part of All Things New, this call to discipleship, which we share together. That we are going to be, and the response was really positive, that people want to be more informed about their faith. In a way, they want to be disciples. How do I talk to my brothers and sisters, my children and my grandchildren, in order to keep them engaged in their faith? People want to learn how to do that. That, I think, is the truly exciting part of All Things New. And I think it's something that Jesus would wholeheartedly endorse, this process that the archdiocese is going through. And it is what Jesus told us to expect. So we should not be surprised. And we're not to be timid, because we've been timid, frankly, for too long about our faith. And that's why people don't drift away. I can show you all kinds of data. We think that people leave the Catholic Church for all sorts of real traumatic reasons. Yes, they do. Some do. But typically they drift away. They're not hearing good preaching. They're not being engaged by their faith. It doesn't seem important anymore. Those are the reasons why people tend to drift away. Well, there are times when we want to keep quiet because we don't want to cause division. Maybe sometimes it's out of love to keep the peace, like that statement in the survey refers to. But if it's for the love of Jesus, then we need to recognize it's going to call us to more. Whether we are following the way of Jesus, the way in which we will ultimately be judged. The time for timidity was past. There's a great Dominican saint, St. Catherine of Siena, said, we are called to set the world on fire. When I was preparing this homily, I found how much easier it would be to talk about, the gentler, softer message of Jesus, the cuddly and warm version of Jesus. But that's not what is expected of us. What we are called to do, we are called to do together. Thanks be to God. This isn't a solitary assignment that we have. We have many opportunities that this faith community offers us to be engaged in our faith, in small faith communities, service to our community, volunteering to help others. All these are opportunities that are meant to help us get the tools that we need to get to work, to cast off with timidity. Let us remember what we heard in that letter to the Hebrews. Since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us rid ourselves of every burden and sin that clings to us and persevere in running the race that lies before us while keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus Christ. The church is depending on us. Let each of us figure out how we can set our little piece of that world on fire.